Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Ghosts and Spirits Encounters video. Once again, I'm showcasing another fascinating but creepy encounter here from the world of Reddit.com. This time though from a subreddit, a new one called the Missing 411. It was originally featured on the world involving shadow people, the subreddit that's there. When I was reading this info, it could still be related to shadow people, but it looks like again it ties into a topic that many of you have wanted me to talk about in the past, and that's the world involving the Missing 411. This is the notion, the strange phenomenon of people that go missing throughout multiple parks and forests throughout the United States. Could this encounter be related to it? Is this the cause of it? In other words, some invisible shape-shifting being that apparently shows up and is also in all black. That's at least apparently what this encounter entails. But it comes from a user by the name of Step Edge, and they titled theirs as "I think I could have been another number and name on that list." So let's go ahead and let's share this encounter here, and then let me know what you guys and gals think about which angle this particular entry falls under. So here's what they state. I just saw not a couple of hours ago my first couple of videos by David Paulides on the strange happenings of the people that go missing in national parks in North America. The story that got me was the one of the female bow hunter that saw some type of invisible creature within the tree line. This got me thinking about something strange that happened to me when I was 10 and a couple of years after it. So I live in Toronto, Ontario, and for those who don't know, that's the Great White North in one of our biggest cities. My house backed onto a quiet private section of the ravine that runs along the east side of Toronto. No one ever that I have seen, and I've lived there now for 10 years, walked there because there was no path and it was overgrown to hell. My friend and I would spend hours down there building makeshift camps and small contained fires and holes that we dug. One day, I went down alone with a backpack full of snacks and tools for digging. When I got down to the bottom, everything felt off. I instantly felt sick and paranoid. Every hair jumped up, and the only feeling I had was to go back up. And so I shook it off as nothing, and I walked towards a small incline that led to the creek bed. When I got to the incline, I got that same feeling, but even worse. My heart started to race, and I took a second to look around to reassure myself that everything was okay. I saw nothing, so I continued on. I took one step when I heard something now moving behind me. I turned around to see this 6 foot, but could have been taller because it was hunched a bit over, person-like thing in all black. Now, when I say all black, I'm talking like a black, skin-tight suit from head to toe with a hood-like thing that makes any shape of face on existent as if it were staring into a black hole. And so I stood there in fear as I could feel we were looking directly at each other. It stood in a position like it was trying to run, but when I turned around, it had frozen in place. I can remember its chest and back moving as it breathed. And so I stared at it for maybe 10 seconds when the first instinct I had was to run came into my head. And so I booked it down the creek towards the side of the ravine with the path. When I stopped running, I looked all around me, making sure I wasn't followed by whatever that was. The months that followed that incident were unnerving as hell too, as whatever that thing was would show up now in my backyard. The first time I saw it, I thought it was in my imagination, but when I saw this thing peek its head from behind my shed to then step out and look right at me to then go back behind it, that was when I knew that it had to be real. In total, I saw this thing maybe 10 times after that first incident. Each time though, enough time had gone by that I somehow forgot about it. I would see it in a month or year intervals. I have no idea what I saw or what could have happened if I didn't turn around to come eye to eye with it. I thought maybe if I put my crazy story that I've only told my best friend and my girlfriend up to this point here, maybe it might have some ties or no ties to all. Just some strange stuff that happened to young me. P.S. First real-time posting anything on Reddit. Please go easy. Thank you for your time on reading this. And then that's it. That's everything that the user Step Edge mentioned within their entry. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. As you can see, it ties into multiple things at once. But the most prominent one is the world of shadow people, because here you have this incident where this user, at least back years ago when they were 10, were in an area there in Toronto that apparently went up to some kind of ravine that in turn went up to some kind of large forest, something that they described as being untraveled and obviously overgrown. And so when they went there by themselves. They decided to take some items with them, some snacks and some tools for digging, but they immediately got that strange, eerie sensation that something was wrong. And then they wanted to get out of there, but they still continued. And then they noticed that something was now following them. And then that's when they turned around. It looks like a shadow person. Here you have something that's hunched over, maybe 6 feet tall or even taller than that. And it was wearing, or at least what appeared to be, all black. Like, in other words, a black skin-tight suit, just completely covering the entire body, and the face itself had some kind of hood on that makes it seem like you were staring into a black hole. And clearly this thing was caught off guard. It thought that it was going to be able to, I guess, follow the user for some time, but it couldn't. Eventually the user got that notion to look behind them, and that's when they saw it. Now, nothing bad happened per se, but the bad news was this thing followed him home. In fact, to the point that they ended up seeing this thing about 10 more times over the years. Each time it knew that it was being watched. Like, in other words, it would peer around the corner right when the user was right there, right when the user was almost peeking around some area. And then that's when it in turn did that same thing. And then lo and behold, they were both staring at each other. In other words, it was doing it on purpose. So there's that angle, that it was a shadow person, but there's the notion that this was happening again in the forest, the missing 411, the idea that there's a strange set of phenomenon happening somewhere there within America or other parts of the world where people go missing, not because of natural circumstances, but because something else is there. And in fact, the comments on this subreddit, the people there almost point to it as well. They stated that there is something in the forest, something humanoid, something that breathes as well, and is also apparently a shapeshifter, something that enjoys following people but doesn't like necessarily getting caught. In other words, getting viewed by those same people. And there was another one involving stuff in sort of the world of it being invisible as well. Some kind of cloak that turns itself invisible and that you can kind of see it. It almost does that strange thing involving the world of Predator and the idea that you're looking at something there and you can't quite make it out, but it's there, and that truly is something very, very real. So what could it be? What is causing this sensation? One of the posters, one of the comments was that it's always happening in areas in forests where people know there shouldn't be. Like, it's way out there in the forest, deep, knee deep into areas that normal people wouldn't have access to, but there they are. And then all of a sudden they're running into these things there. Are they shadow people? Are they something else? Let me know. Post it in the comments below. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.